Welcome to SveNFL.
What is up, y'all?
It's Jonathan Rollins.
Schif Misara.
Two Americans living in Sweden talking about unsung heroes.
Let's go with the unsung heroes.
Yeah, boy. I say that because Schif is an unsung hero, man. There's been times where we start recording and I forget. Well, no, we start talking.
Right.
And I forget to push the record button. And Schif has said in the past, like, you know what? I know when we're recording because it tells me. And because he's trying to make me feel better. He's like, no, don't blame yourself, John. John, don't blame yourself. And then I started the music. I was sitting there, we're just talking. I was like, I hit the button. And Schif said, hey, man. We're not recording.
It's true.
Oh, man. So I felt like, thank you, man. You're an unsung hero, man. The world deserves to know.
I don't know. Maybe. I'll take it. Unsung hero. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. But I feel like I haven't seen you in a while or something, man. I miss you, man.
Yeah, I feel like well, you know, I think a big part of it is that we didn't have any games to talk about this week.
That's what it is.
You know, normally we'll do like a betting episode over the weekend or even once the games start, we're generally texting each other like, oh, bro, did you see that? But yeah, it's apparently the Pro Bowl was not interesting enough for us to do that. I didn't. You watched some of the Pro Bowl. I didn't. Yeah. I watched some of the competition stuff that they did.
That's what I would have wanted to see, but I just forgot, man. We
actually on Saturday, me and Isak watched the NHL. Also had their All-Star game this weekend, and they have a pretty fantastic skills competition. The NHL. It's a really good one. They've got like the hardest shot, the most accurate shot. They come up with a lot of weird ones, like everybody's doing nowadays. Yeah, I know you don't care. But you would care to a certain degree because this year the NHL skills competition was held in Miami.
Really?
It was held in Miami, and I can't remember which player it was, but for one sort of funky little gimmicky trick shot kind of thing, they brought out one of the Miami Dolphins players. I can't remember which one though. It was a defensive player.
Jalen Phillips?
Is he the captain of the defense?
Maybe Javon Holland.
It was Javon Holland, I think.
Yeah, he's captain.
I think it was Javon Holland.
I like him.
They brought him out on the ice, which was fun. I was like, cool. Like I think last year when they did it in Vegas, they had Derek Carr
come out on
there.
Skates?
No.
Oh.
No. Speaking of brothers on skates, have you ever seen Marshawn Lynch?
No.
Marshawn Lynch all suited up to try and play hockey.
No.
There's a video out there of him. I don't remember who he's with or why he's doing it, but it may have been. He was part of the effort to get a new. There's a brand. The newest team in the NHL is the Seattle Kraken, and he was part of the crew, that PR crew. They kind of brought him in to help sort of promote Seattle getting a team and also to build some hype around it and stuff. And there was some funny shit of him all suited up trying to play hockey. It's funny as hell.
Oh, that's good.
It's really funny.
Have you seen the one with him with Bear Grylls, right?
I don't think so.
It's something with him and Bear Grylls is like, we need to eat this snake or something like that.
No, I have not seen that.
Like, man, I ain't going over there about a motherfucking snake, man. It's so good. He's like, come on, man. He's like, no, I'm not, no.
I feel like he's the perfect PR man. It's like,
yeah, man, he's so real.
Yeah, just get Marshawn Lynch on the phone. Get him over here right now. Problem solved. Marshawn Lynch.
Like, no, Bear Grylls is like, come on, man. He's looking around like, dude, this camera's here, man. That's so funny.
Oh, goodness. Well, it is Super Bowl week, y'all. And we have officially, we've been rebranding all the different rounds.
Yes.
And we've been building from Super Wildcard Weekend. as we go, and as we've been doing this, it felt a little ridiculous that we can't just call it the Super Bowl anymore.
Yeah, how could you? How could you?
You've already given, and also think about this, NFL. You want the Super Bowl to be special, but you somehow threw Super at the wild card weekend. Like, you're just diminishing the level of importance by, first of all, by just using the same superlative twice.
Yeah. Where's the build-up and creativity?
Right. Well, we here at SveNFL are here to help. Obviously, the NFL listens to this podcast. I've been stealing our ideas for about 3 years.
Yes.
So we are now referring to the Super Bowl as the splendidly sexy, salaciously slippery Super Bowl extravaganza.
It just makes sense, man.
It's hot.
It's hot.
Shit, we're gonna drop it like it's hot every day of the week.
What's tickets for the Super Bowl, man?
Bro, I just read about that this morning. I'm so glad you mentioned that. It's like, I think they're over $6,000 at this point. Just the get-in price.
The average price is over $10,000, but that's that's probably because those skybox is probably insane. Like, what happened, man?
I don't like this.
Me neither.
I don't like it.
And it's just like only corporate interests are served.
Agreed.
Like I used to say that because I remember when I dived deeper into my Dolphins fandom. Right, I was kind of a surface fan when I was just happy the Huizenga family was nice to us and all of that stuff. So I got into my whole origin story, and then once I moved away from home, I got deeper into my fandom. Right. And I made a pledge to myself that Dolphins suck. You know what I mean? Well, they weren't so bad when I first started, but then they started to suck. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, they suck, and I'm going to stick with this team. And one day, they'll probably make it back to the Super Bowl. And if they do, I'm going to treat myself to a Super Bowl, like to watch them live, hopefully win it all, or watch them lose it. You know what I mean? To watch my team in the Super Bowl. And then now it's like it's an investment. I got to run up a credit card to watch my team play in the Super Bowl as a fan. It's so fucked up to the fans.
Every year it's going to get worse. I'm glad I didn't make that promise to myself. Otherwise, I probably would have witnessed that 28-3 nightmare in person. That would have sucked ass.
But at least seeing your team in the Super Bowl is I think it's still great to see your team in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But it just sucks that they're making it impossible for they never think of the average fan. Just like Disney, that's my problem with Disney. They never think of the average, Mickey Mouse, Disney afternoon watcher. These 7-year-old kid from a middle class or lower middle class family that can't even afford to fucking go and see Mickey Mouse in person.
That's also true. It's very expensive.
Nobody thinks of the people that are putting money in your pockets.
Yeah. Thankfully, sort of related to this topic, it appears that the idea of creating a neutral site AFC NFC championship game is the league is starting to hear. They're not deaf. They hear the pushback from the media, from the fans about how terrible an idea this is. Another example of how they've been listening to the SveNFL.
Yeah, man.
They know that people just not gonna want that. You know what I'm saying?
They just not gonna want that.
Because you're basically, as you said last week, I think it was, that you were essentially you're creating 2 more games that will be virtually more or less like the Super Bowl. Neutral site, tons of money, crazy expensive ticket, and you'd be taking aside from all of the, just completely eradicating the motivation to win your division. Like, what's the point if you can't play a home conference championship game? Like, bro, come on.
Imagine scoring a touchdown, celebrating for a neutral crowd. You know what I mean? You already have to do it in the Super Bowl. Then you doing it in the championship game, and you played all year to get there, and then you're like, "Oh, we had the best record in the league, and now we're here, and
now we're playing in Atlanta,
and we're here in Dallas."
Which would be great for the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. You know, some of those seats, some of the seats in that stadium probably never even seen an ass. You know what I mean? So it's like they're like, "Oh, that's kind of nice."
What is this? Just remnants of poop? Hey, seat 238. I've been farted upon. I didn't know humans came out here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Super Bowls, I guess we should start off with 7-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady has announced that he is retiring again.
Congratulations, but more importantly,
we do not care.
Exactly. He
thanks
says
for all the memories, Tom.
Yeah. Nightmares for me.
Exactly.
But supposedly he's retiring for good this time. As you're suggesting, I feel like we went through this shit last year, so I'm not really in the mood to give this.
Never say never, but never.
Parade or anything.
Yeah.
But I will say this. I do take a fair amount of pride in the fact that his last regular season game, which, insiders are telling me is the main reason why he decided to retire, was a crushing blow that he felt to his soul after finally losing to my Atlanta Falcons.
That'll do it.
We got the GOAT benched in that game. Okay? And don't let any of these Bucs fans come in here and tell you some other story like, no, we were just saving him for... But no, motherfucker got benched. Okay?
He's the most competitive man ever. Him and Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
There's no way that he didn't want to come back in that game, man. He was like, you know what? Coach is right. It's time for me to hang it up after this season.
Yeah. He basically retired, and I know that he played a playoff game, but in my mind, he essentially retired at halftime of the Falcons game, in my head.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So his retirement video is getting a lot of attention, obviously. He retired via his phone, video on his phone. He's just sitting on the beach. Did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it.
I have to say, I actually, all kidding aside, it was probably the most candid version of Brady I think I may have ever seen.
Lately, he's been on point, man.
Yeah. I really actually, like, all kidding aside, totally appreciated and kind of liked the way that he did it. He's clearly aware that he kind of used up his big version of retiring last year. And so he keeps it very short, to the point. You can tell he's a little emotional as he's doing it. Like he's kind of choking back tears. It feels quite real. There's no bells and whistles. There's nothing, you know what I mean? Like it's not your typical like media crafted Tom Brady type thing.
I found it. Should I play it?
Absolutely. If you want to.
Oh yeah, you know how it is, man.
Hjälper lite.
Oh shit! I thought that was that him and Giselle having a fight?
Good morning, guys. I'll get to the point right away. I'm retiring for good. I know the process was a pretty big deal last time, so when I woke up this morning, I figured I'd just press record and let you guys know first. So I won't be long-winded. I think you only get one super emotional retirement essay, and I used mine up last year. So really thank you guys so much, to every single one of you, for supporting me, my family, my friends, my teammates, my competitors. I could go on forever. There's too many. Thank you guys for allowing me to live my absolute dream. I wouldn't change a thing. Love you all.
Wow.
It's pretty real.
Real, man. Look at that, man. He grew on me I guess leaving the Patriots helped me. It helped me as a hater to appreciate him more. And then the way he handled that that Antonio Brown situation. Like you could tell he was the adult in the room. I mean,
Sure.
Whenever he wasn't throwing a fucking tablet around,
Right?
Can't forget that. But that just shows his competitiveness. I just wish they would cover it the same way they cover when other people have temper tantrums.
Yeah, well, given that he moved from the Patriots to my division, I cannot say that I got over disliking Tom Brady because now I had to play him twice a year. So that wasn't very fun.
But he wasn't at the peak of his powers like he was in New England.
What are you talking about? He won the Super Bowl.
He did, but did he win the Super Bowl? Or
of course, you can have that argument. You can have that argument.
9 points.
I mean, you can have that argument for many a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he did a Trent Dilfer. He did his own Trent Dilfer that year. Yeah. His own Peyton Manning.
Sure.
Just a little higher level.
But I do agree with you. I think he deserves a lot of respect for the way he handled the Antonio Brown situation.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with how he's handling this. The only part of his speech that I don't believe is that he wouldn't do anything differently, because I mean you're essentially looking at a guy who retired last year, decided to come back, and paid a pretty big fucking price in his personal life to play one more year of extremely mediocre football.
That's assuming that that's the reason that they broke up.
Yeah, and it's assuming that they wouldn't have just broken up anyway. Right. But I have no idea. But I mean, as far as we know, that is a big reason for why they broke up. I mean, by all accounts, Giselle has been wanting him to retire for years. I don't think she was super happy about the Tampa move either. But either way, I think he has a lot to, whatever. He made his choice. His life is what it is. He's going to be fine. He's got a multi-gajillion-dollar contract waiting for him at Fox, so nobody needs to really worry too much.
I wonder how he's going to be with that. You know, I love hearing analysts. I'm curious to see how he's going to knock it out, because the players have been the better ones lately. With Aqib Talib and Greg Olsen, Tony Romo, these guys have been coming in doing very well, except for Drew Brees. He's pretty bad. But
we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of room in that Fox crew. I mean, Jesus Christ, that Fox pregame show, I feel like there's like 12 people sitting at the desk. It's like,
all right, say your sentence. Okay, next person, say your sentence.
and now I think they have one less, obviously, because we're getting ready to talk about Sean Payton, but I would imagine. I mean, Terry Bradshaw's not going to live forever. You know what I mean? He's got to go at some point.
No, he's going to do game. He's going to do in-game commentary. There's no way he's going to sit in the studio.
Well, they have a very elaborate way of testing how well these guys are, how good a job. I mean, they do test runs. You know what I mean? So we'll see. He's clearly very competitive. So I mean, if he uses that same kind of if he brings that competitive nature to the broadcast game. My guess is that he'll do fine,
I'm looking forward to it.
Either way, speaking of Sean Payton, Sean Payton is going to be the next head coach of the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, man. I know how they feel about that. He's probably a little bit like, I don't know. when you look at Russell Wilson's got to be happy. And Sean Payton is probably looking at it like it's a chance for him to flex.
Yeah,
we'll see what he's got, man, because this could make him look like a genius and make Nathaniel Hackett look like Boo Boo the Fool, as my grandma would say.
Yeah, I would say this clearly I was never in the Denver Broncos locker room, but I will say, based on many of the interviews that I saw with Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson, in my opinion, they seemed a little too buddy-buddy.
Okay.
Like almost too friendly with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like in my business, when you meet, I've been on set sometimes where you can see that the actor is really good friends with the director. And where that starts to go south is because since they're good friends, it becomes a scenario where the actor is essentially undirectable.
Mm-hmm.
and they just do kind of whatever they want. And I think that's kind of a similar problem that they had. Like they were too friendly for him. Like he needs some. Just because Russell Wilson is as good as a quarterback as we all assume him to be when he was with Seattle, does not mean that you don't still need someone to guide the ship. And I don't think there was anybody in charge in that sense. I think because of their relationship, there was no way for him to be tough with Russ.
I just think that Nathaniel Hackett is not like his leadership qualities aren't there. I don't think it has to do with the buddy part. I just think he's just a bad leader in general. He had to get somebody to come make decisions. You know what I'm saying?
That's also true. Yeah.
So it's like he's just probably just a bad head coach. It's just not for him.
But it's just really funny because every time you would see Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett in an interview, Nathaniel Hackett was behaving,
like Auntie Angel.
It was almost like he was acting as if he was like starstruck.
Right.
Like at any given moment, he was going to ask Russell Wilson to take a selfie with him. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, you're the coach, bro. And I bring this up because I think that this is not the way Sean Payton does business. I think he will do it in a completely different way. And if there's anybody who can get Russell Wilson back on track, you'd have to imagine it would be someone like Sean Payton.
Right. Agreed.
So the details of the deal. The Broncos will send a 2023 first-round pick and a 2024 second-round pick to the New Orleans Saints because Sean Payton was still under contract until 2024.
Oh, wow.
There's been a lot of debate over whether the Broncos got fleeced.
Kind of, yeah, they did, yeah. Especially after losing all that shit for Russell Wilson. So this has to work. But nobody, like D'Amico Ryans turned down the Broncos.
That is what's being reported, yeah.
And this wasn't the situation a lot of coaches wanted. And then Payton, I'm sure they're not giving the details, but I'm pretty sure that Payton pulled their pants down and showed them how big it felt. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
I'm sure they paying him out of the, and that Walmart money went to use. You know what I mean?
Sure, because the reality is this: the Broncos did not have a number 1 pick last year.
Nope.
And now this year, it appears they won't have a pick until the 3rd round, which I guess would be fine if they had any cap space, but sadly they do not. So we'll see how that goes. Again, winning solves everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I mean, how many times did we joked about it? If they scored more than 19 points, what were they? Like they'd be at 11-2 or some shit. Yeah. Like it was like at one point in the season, there was like a report that it was like if they could just score more than 19 points with that defense being as good as it is, they'd be leading the division.
I think this might be the new wave, man. When I'm looking at it, like to get around the cap is to put the coaching staff, because you don't have to. You can pay coaches whatever you want. Mm-hmm. It doesn't hurt your cap. So you find the right coaching staff, and apparently the Broncos have a really good defensive coordinator who people are looking at as far as a head coach. And who I started looking at who they had because I like their defense, and I thought they were going to steal Fangio from Miami. Because once Payton got there, Fangio was like, hold on now. I didn't fully commit to you, Miami. Let me talk a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
So I started looking at that, and apparently it's a hot name out there, this defensive coordinator for the Broncos. Mm-hmm. So if that defense plays like it did last year, his name is Ejiro Evero.
Right.
So if they keep that all together, Sean Payton always puts a good defense out there too, even though he's considered a good offensive mind. He even did it with that Shady dude, and then once they had to fire him, Williams, they still had a good defense. It's like Payton knows how to run a good ship, man. Broncos should be excited.
Actually, hit the breaking news button.
This is the default. What's going on?
The Carolina Panthers have just hired Ejiro Evero as their defensive coordinator.
What?
One day after being released by the Denver Broncos.
I wonder what they're going to do.
Good question.
Yeah, it's here. Oh, I see it right here. They want to interview Brian Flores on Tuesday.
Interesting.
And he interviewed for the Saints job last year as head coach. This stuff is oof. Let's see what happens, man. All of the shuffling going around.
Either way, from the Broncos' perspective, you couldn't be happier to have a real proven entity as your head coach. Payton was the Saints coach from 2006 to 2021. Before Sean Payton came to New Orleans, the Saints had just one playoff win in franchise history. Payton won 9 playoff games in New Orleans, including a Super Bowl. So I just really wanted to read that more so just to let the New Orleans Saints realize what they lost.
Oh. I don't know if you looked at the Cardinals at all. I just got curious when they don't have a coach yet.
I read this morning that they're interviewing Flores, somebody else who I can't
Vance
remember.
Joseph. It says Vance Joseph. No. Vance
They're out here
Joseph's
interviewing Lou. They're interviewing Lou Anarumo.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yes, Anarumo. Yes, that's what I want to get the job. Flores, Mike Kafka, and Anarumo are the 3 that they're looking at. So
interesting.
I'd love to see Anarumo over there, man, in Arizona. To see what he would do with a full team.
Yeah. Next up, we got D'Amico Ryans agrees to become the next head coach of the Houston Texans.
I got to get some more sound.
Free cash, homie.
Right. Ryans becomes the 5th Texans head coach since the start of the 2020 season.
Oof, that is not good. That is not good, man. It's only 3 years.
He will clearly attempt to stop the trend of one-and-done black coaches in Houston. First, remember this? Romeo Crennel and then Lovey. And now,
don't forget the other guy.
Which other guy?
That they hired just to try to keep Deshaun Watson. The light-skinned brother. No, that wasn't Crennel.
I thought that was Lovey.
No, before Lovey. He was like an old something
that
with
was
a C. No.
Romeo Crennel, no?
No. I'm gonna look it up now.
They were trying to hire one of their former
David Culley.
Yes, yeah.
It was David Culley that they hired, and it was just last year. It was David Culley. Then they hired Lovie Smith, and now D'Amico Ryans. So it's Crennel, Culley, Smith, Ryans, and Ryan seems like I don't know, man. People think a lot of good stuff about him. He's just playing not too long ago.
Here's the difference in this hire. The Texans. Well, first of all, D'Amico comes in as the former defensive coordinator for the 49ers and is immediately given a 6-year deal with the Texans. Ryans is also different in many ways because he used to play for the Texans. He was a linebacker for them from 2006 to 2011. He made a couple of Pro Bowls in Houston, first team All-Pro during his second NFL season. He recorded over 100 tackles in each of his first 4 seasons within the franchise. He was one of the best all-time defensive players who they're obviously hoping will be able to fix what is currently one of the worst defenses in the entire NFL. The Texans are one of those teams similar to my Falcons that needs a little bit to a lot of help at nearly every position.
My suggestion to them is to trade down, collect picks, and hit the middle of that draft to build up a young team.
See, it's almost like you and I feel like you have gotten to the point very similar to the relationship that I have with my wife, where we
Thanks,
it's like we share a brain. I was literally getting ready to ask you, what do you think they should do in the draft? And you just jumped in and said, bro, this is what they need to do.
That's what they need to do, man. If he's smart, go for the Miller. Don't try to make some splash and get some hot quarterback. Build up that team, man. Build up the depth, and then you'll get your quarterback.
It's going to be tempting because they have the number 2 pick.
Yeah.
There's obviously the quarterback is a need for them, and there's one out there.
Is there a can't miss? Is there a can't miss quarterback at all this draft?
It's hard to say.
So you gotta. If there was, you would know it. You know what I mean? We knew when Andrew Luck was coming out, he was gonna be that dude. We knew that when Trevor Lawrence was coming out, he was probably gonna be that dude. And Burrow, we knew that.
The top 2 quarterbacks that everybody's looking at are Bryce Young from Alabama and C.J. Stroud from Ohio State. I personally, and this is not because I'm a Bulldogs fan, I would take C.J. Stroud over Bryce Young. Bryce Young is small. Bryce Young has had like an absolute wall of China offensive line for most of his career. Like, look at all these Alabama quarterbacks, the ones who stayed at Alabama who struggle. You know, Tua has struggled a bit. Mac Jones has started to struggle a bit. It's not a given that just because you played quarterback for Alabama that you're going to make it in at the next level in the NFL.
I like shitting on Mac Jones, just like the rest of like everybody else. However, I think kind of cross out this season.
Sure. Yeah. No, he had. I mean, the fact that they
Patricia had and fucking
yeah.
Joe Judge.
I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying he won't make it. I'm just saying that the transition, sometimes when you play for one of the best teams in college football, the transition is actually a little harder because, especially from the quarterback position, because you have such an amazing juggernaut of a team in college, nobody can beat you. And then you make it to the NFL where the competition level goes through the roof and suddenly you got to learn how to play quarterback again. So it's in a lot of ways, it's even harder for the big teams at that particular position, I think. And then Tua's struggles aren't because the NFL was too much for him when he got there, or that all of a sudden it's competition there. His injury related. That, and also he had a terrible offensive line. But that's the point I'm trying to make. You go from playing for Alabama, who has one of the best offensive lines in the entire country, to playing for the Miami Dolphins at that particular time, having one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL.
And inexperienced offensive coordinators, plural, they were doing 2. And then when they got a good offensive coordinator, he was an MVP candidate. So we can't just put the stamp on Alabama quarterbacks like that.
No, exactly. But the other top pick, one of the top defensive picks, which I think is going to be very difficult for DeMeco Ryans to resist, will be my man, former Bulldog, Jalen Carter. Number 88.
I just started scrolling looking for the grapefruit. When you say one at a time, I was like, here we go. Let's go. Let's find this grapefruit.
You know it was coming.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see what he does.
Man.
Draft is in April, I believe. April. Yeah.
Yeah. I read a while ago, I read an article about, I think it was like by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? No, Malcolm Gladwell.
Okay.
Was talking about.
I can totally understand why you would mix those two up. Anyway, go ahead.
Both of them think outside the box. Malcolm Gladwell was talking about he was talking about outliers or that whole his whole thing about the 10,000 hours and outliers. Sure. And he has a whole a podcast about thinking of things, looking back on things and thinking about them differently. I forget what it's called, but you know what I mean. And he talked about the draft and how, because the team is so big, the best thing to do, if you look at the stars of the league and the best players in the league, is get as many players under the second and third round as you can, because that's where your value comes in.
Right.
And ever since reading, I was like, man, let's look at the Jets, man. The Jets built their team up, but then the one thing that they missed on was the number 2 pick.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're looking like a team that's just that pick away. You know what I mean? If they would have traded back and got more pieces in the middle of the draft or gotten a different quarterback than Zach Wilson, you know what I mean?
No, I agree with that 100%, and I'm glad you brought it up because we can tease a little bit that in the second episode we're going to do this week before the game, we'll get a little more into the two teams who were playing at the Super Bowl, the Eagles and the Chiefs, and kind of a little more specifically like how they were built and some of the really smart, brilliant moves that were made by the GMs of those two teams to create a situation where they now find themselves getting ready to play for a Super Bowl. It's pretty interesting. Speaking of stupid moves that are not at all interesting and will not get them back to the Super Bowl, the Cowboys have just named Brian Schottenheimer as their offensive coordinator. That's right. I will repeat. I did say that Brian Schottenheimer.
Yes, I remember Marty.
Will be the offensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys. He was some kind of an offensive consultant for the Cowboys during the 2022 season. He's obviously, as you suggested, son of longtime NFL coach Marty Schottenheimer.
Remember we went into the nepotism of all of these coaching staffs?
A lot of chatter nowadays, I've noticed on the internet about the topic of Nepo babies. I feel like this is a hot topic on the internet at the moment.
Wow.
Given the lack of sort of wow factor to this news, it seems to fit with the idea that McCarthy is going to call plays this year. I think that McCarthy knows that his seat is hot, and he probably feels like if I'm going down, I'm going down swinging. And I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I'm going to do it with the most recently hired. You know, he was on the Cowboys staff, but before that, he was shining and glowing as a member of Urban Meyer's staff as the pass game coordinator in Jacksonville. Good call. Remember how Trevor Lawrence was lighting up the league over there in Jacksonville under Urban Meyer? That's good. And then Doug Peterson comes on as head coach, and one of his first things is to get rid of Schottenheimer. So, yeah.
That doesn't look good on your resume. You just put it on there. Yeah, I was the pass game coordinator for the Jaguars in 2021, and then you wait for someone to go, wait a minute, wasn't that the year that Urban Meyer was there? Yeah, have this man escorted from the building immediately.
He was, but he was the offensive coordinator of a good Seahawks team in 2018. But then he got fired because of philosophical differences later. So,
ooh, I always love that one. Philosophical differences.
That's a Pete Carroll, man.
Tell me your philosophy. I was like, that's funny. Well, speaking of guys who probably have their own philosophy, Derek Carr, am I right? Derek Carr trade rumors are buzzing.
Yeah.
One of the big ones, I think, is the Saints appear to be kind of in the running. Essentially, what's happening at the moment is that, the Raiders were hoping that I forget the exact scenario, but if the Raiders don't cut him by a certain date, then they're going to owe him like $40 million guaranteed or something.
Oof.
It's pretty close too. I think if the date that they need to cut him by or trade him is like 2 or 3 days after the Super Bowl, I think.
Okay. Wow.
So anyway, what they've done is that they've done a little like the way the Texans handled the Deshaun Watson trade, which is that they're
masterful. Oh no, well, I'm gonna say
that. well, I'm not talking about any of the icky parts. I'm talking about where they've given Derek Carr permission to talk to. He's technically still a Raider. He's still under contract, but they've given him permission to speak with other teams about a potential trade.
Okay.
So, yeah. So that's basically what's happening. I don't know exactly who he's talking to, but there are a lot of rumors about him going to the Saints. Clearly, there are rumors about him going to the Jets. The other thing that this brings forth is really not just a lot of speculation regarding where Carr is going to wind up, but also, the other bigger quarterback free agency names, Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy G. Nobody really knows where they're going to go either. The reports that I read this week strongly suggest that the Raiders were going to go after Tom Brady, but after his retirement, now that kind of threw everything up in the air again.
Would you say Carr is the strongest quarterback candidate out there?
Yes.
I would have to agree.
He's younger. I think that he's more of a he's better than Jimmy G, period. I don't know if he's better than Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers comes with a lot of other baggage that you may or may not want to have to deal with.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers is clearly on the backside of his career.
Right.
I mean, obviously the obvious rumor is that Rodgers is going to go to Vegas because that will put him back together with Devontae Adams, which
Adams tweeted at him too.
Yeah.
Well, Carr did show he's got the skills.
He did. He won that QB skills competition at the Pro Bowl.
Did you hear about his interview afterwards?
Oh yeah, I watched it. I thought it was hilarious.
I'm gonna play a clip for him. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't,
Play it.
But you told me what happened. But I did find it here, so let's hear what David Carr said.
Touchdown passes in Vegas before. You've been on fire. Have you ever been that hot in Las Vegas?
Not that hot. It's probably why I'm going somewhere else.
Bro, well,
Carr out here keeping it real.
Yeah, man, keeping it real, man. I like that.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. So
right.
he knows he's leaving.
Oh yeah, he knows. It's going to be interesting. There'll be some big names playing in different jerseys next year. It'll be, and also the other thing that, I mean, nobody really knows what the 49ers are going to do either. Now that Brock Purdy has this elbow injury, and
49ers
there's a lot of
chill, man.
There's a lot of reports that they don't really believe in Trey Lance anymore.
I bet.
But they gave away picks to move up all those spots to pick him.
Here's the thing, man. I think teams need to just get over that. Like, okay, it didn't work out. Like, don't try to save face and just let it play out or whatever. You cut your losses, man.
Yeah.
You got, and then not only that, but you also have this 7th round pick. Like, what about that part? That you missed on that, but you hit on this, which is great. So cut your losses, see what you can get back for Lance, and realize that you found a gem that was in the 7th round if you want to stick with Brock Purdy. And then you got a tradable asset in Jimmy Garoppolo.
Exactly.
Like, there's positives in it. Don't try to save face. These GMs try to prove, no, but I saw something. No, we saw something. Shit ain't working.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard.
I think Carr to Carolina would be good. I don't know if Frank Reich wants to fuck with that anymore, but I think that'll be a good mix, man.
Yeah, that could work. I mean, there's rumors that he could wind up at the Bucs too. So I think the NFC South is a pretty highly sought after destination for any of these free agent quarterbacks because it's such a shitty division that you could more or less assume that. I mean, if Carr winds up on the Saints, you would probably guess that the betting odds will be the Saints are going to win the division.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Assuming the other teams don't make some other big, you know what I mean? If only one free agent quarterback goes to the NFC South, you would assume that team would be the one that would win. It's that bad.
I'm really interested in what's going to happen in Arizona. Because I feel like the way that we're talking about Lance, it might be the same type of feeling in some circles in the powers that be in Arizona about Baby Yoda.
You bring up a great point because Baby Yoda's not going to be good to go until at least midway through the season. So what are they going to do at quarterback?
Yeah, it seems like they're gonna try to lean on their defense. They'll probably hire a defensive coach like Anarumo or Flores or something like that, and try to.
I could see them bringing in a Jimmy G, just to hold the fort down until Murray gets back.
Or Tannehill.
Tannehill too. True, he's a free agent. There have been a lot of rumors about Tannehill being reunited with Arthur Smith in Atlanta. A few too many rumors for my liking, to be honest. I'm not.
You don't
talk about. Think about it. Yeah, talk about. You're just not gonna want that.
They're just not gonna want that.
I'm not here for that.
Man, talk about the bad taste in your mouth, man. Jeez.
I'd rather run it back with Mariota than to have fucking Ryan Tannehill. Come on. It's basically
Tannehill's
a young.
better.
No, but I say that jokingly, of course, but I also, in all seriousness, it's basically like having a slightly younger version of Matt Ryan. We've already seen this movie and how it ends. Like, I don't.
Tannehill can move, man.
For now.
Yeah, it's like an upgrade. It's like a Mariota plus. You know, it's like you're just gonna get a little bit better, but just less decisive in the pocket.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
You don't want that, man.
Obviously, I'm here for being wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But
it's destined for mediocrity. That's what it's gonna be.
That's how I feel.
It's gonna be like end of the year, hoping maybe we hope this team loses so we can make the playoff, that type of thing.
Sure.
And you don't want that.
We have now reached the bad boys section of the podcast. You know how it gets when teams. Now we're inching up on the off season, and some bad boy stories start to come out. First off, we have an Eagles player who will be missing the Super Bowl. I think he's an offensive lineman, Josh Sills.
He wasn't even on the roster though. Like the last game, he wasn't even like.
Well, because they knew these charges were coming.
Okay, I thought he wasn't. How much did he play this year?
I'm not sure.
He's like a backup offensive lineman.
This is a charge that comes from his college days, I think.
Yeah, like 2018 or something like that.
Just disgusting.
Yeah.
Like forcing this girl to give him oral sex because he gave her a ride. It's like, what a fucking.
Oh my God.
It gave her a ride home, and then like it's just like ugh, gross. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Saga was pretty upset when this story popped. Bengals running back Joe Mixon charged with aggravated menacing.
What? Oh, he was ice grilling.
But the case
was he showing his gold teeth?
No.
In the club?
I never even heard of aggravated menacing.
Me neither. Like, was you just looking hard at somebody? What was aggravated menacing?
Well, I'll tell you. First of all, he was charged, and then the case was dismissed for additional investigation, which means that the charges could come back if they find enough evidence to move forward. The arrest warrant was issued after Mixon allegedly pointed a gun at a woman in downtown Cincinnati last month. And according to the court documents, Mixon said to her, and I quote, "You should be popped in the face. I should shoot you. The police can't get me." End quote.
Damn. Here's the definition of aggravated menacing. The prosecution must prove that you knowingly caused another person to believe that you would cause serious physical harm to their person, property, unborn child, or immediate family. That's aggravated menacing. Sounds like what you described.
Right. Yeah, it fits the category for sure.
And it's in Ohio, so.
Yeah, downtown Cincinnati.
Damn.
I don't know if it was just some random woman or I don't know. Who knows?
You get 6 months for aggravated menacing. $1,000 fine.
Well, he also got in trouble when he was in college for aggravated assault. He hit a woman.
No, it sounds like a stand-up guy.
There's video of that on the internet. You can see.
Damn.
That. Yeah, he smacked the shit out of her. Anyway, let's see. Well, here's another story that came to me by way of Saga. This was fascinating. I sent this one to makeup YouTuber / influencer Jeffree Star has capitalized off of the human obsession with everyone thinking they can be an armchair detective by teasing a mystery that is so tailor-made for the internet age. This dude set the internet on fire by posting a picture of his new NFL boyfriend, without posting his face. It's a photograph from behind, and everyone is on the internet trying to figure out who this dude is. He's basically set the internet on fire. It's kind of hilarious. From behind, the guy, I mean, God, he looks like so many different people. It's like he could be Gronk. It could be Cole Kmet is one of the theories. Who else? Carl Nassib, obviously.
Of course, is a gay player.
But the photograph itself is pretty bizarre. It's like first you're so focused on looking at this person's, the shape of his body and his head and all that kind of stuff. And then you don't even realize until you zoom in, but there's like a 9mm handgun with a silencer attached to it sitting on the sink in this.
Oh, snap. I'm looking at it now.
You're like, what the hell is that? And then and if you look to the right of the player's ass cheek, you can see there's a dog sleeping in the shower in the background.
Yeah,
or I don't know. It's like, what the fuck? This picture just like, there's a lot of weird shit happening.
A lot going on there. Man. That's Tom Brady, man.
Could be. Yeah, you're right. It does. From behind. I mean, he looks like 1,000 fucking players in that picture. But yeah, I just thought it was kind of a funny picture for anybody's interested. If you want to get into the whole internet sleuthing business and try to figure out who Jeffree Star. He gives a few hints. What does he say? His team didn't make the Super Bowl, but he's 6'6", and he plays perfect in the bedroom. So really, he only gives 2 clues. I mean, there's only 2 clues that we have access to. The fact that he's not in the Super Bowl and that he's 6'6". The fact that he plays perfect in the bedroom is clearly subjective, and none of us have fucked this guy, presumably. Yeah. So based on those 2 nuggets of information, people are desperately trying to figure out who the hell this person is.
Well, it might be a publicity stunt, and if it is, it's ingenious.
Clearly.
But I'm interested to see how this is resolved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Now I thought maybe we could get into some. These are some. I've been keeping a list of narratives, building up to the game. Narratives that will get pounded into our brains as the game approaches. Some of them I think are great. Some of them I think are stupid.
Yes.
The first one is actually not even related to the 2 teams playing. It's actually related to the fact that Tennessee. The state of Tennessee has introduced a bill to dump Columbus Day as a holiday, not for Indigenous Peoples Day. No, they want to dump Columbus Day for Super Bowl Monday as a holiday. What do you think?
I prefer Super Bowl Monday over Columbus Day. Yes, of course.
So essentially, everybody in Tennessee would have the day off. It would be a holiday.
Yeah, the Monday after,
would be
and then, but in October they'll go to work. I'm with it.
Yeah.
Or September, October, whenever Columbus Day is, yeah.
So they have been like kind of pushing this, the group that's trying to get this done is pushing this idea based on actual research where they have discovered that the Monday after the Super Bowl is literally the most unproductive day in the entire United States.
Man, the water cooler is just surrounded by tired people talking about the commercials on YouTube, checking out all the commercials and showing each other. Yeah, it's probably not productive at all. Or people calling out of work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It says here 16.1 million Americans reported they were likely to not go to work on the Monday after the Super Bowl.
That's me here. When I had a day job, I didn't go to work. I took that day off.
Mm-hmm.
It's Sweden though, so you could just do that.
That's true.
It ain't like in America.
And I realize the game has not happened yet. However, I would like to give my non-football related MVP to Kylie Kelsey. This is Jason Kelsey's very pregnant wife.
Okay.
She, like the rest of us, remember what happened to Samira Jefferson, Rams wideout Van Jefferson's wife, who had to leave the Super Bowl early last year because she went into labor in the middle of the game. Now, Kylie Jefferson is not only Kylie Kelsey, thank you. She's not only unwilling to take any chances as she approaches her due date, but she may also be unwilling to leave the game, which is why when told she could bring a guest to the game, Kylie has decided to bring her OBGYN to the Super Bowl.
Born on the 50-yard line.
How cool is that?
That is very cool. I like it. If she goes into labor and has the baby at halftime or some shit like that.
She's like, I'm just having the baby here. Yeah.
They have to put a tub in the box up there. Have one of those birthing tubs. Mm-hmm. I think that'll be dope.
Yeah. I mean,
and it could also help to take away the stigma of home births. It's like, of course you can have a baby at home. You had a baby at the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So she's apparently going to be 38 weeks pregnant by the day of the game.
Right on
so
time.
It's entirely likely that she could have this baby right there in that fucking Arizona stadium.
Man.
I think it's fascinating.
Rooting for them. I'm rooting for that to happen, man. That'd be a cool story.
There's one narrative that I'm already sick of, and that's the Andy Reid Bowl. Yes, he coached for the Eagles, and now he coaches for the Chiefs.
Oh, I'm sick of that already. It's been so long.
The one part of the story that I was not aware of, which I think a lot of people haven't realized this yet either, is the Nick Sirianni revenge game angle.
Okay.
Sirianni actually used to work for the Chiefs, survived a couple of coaching changes, but when Andy Reid showed up, Mr. Each and Everyone in the building was fired and removed from the building.
He was out of the building.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. I didn't realize that. Obviously, the Kelsey Bowl, first time Super Bowl history where two brothers are facing off against one another. This narrative is so stupid that even the Kelsey brothers are sick of it.
Yeah,
they have their own podcast, which is quite funny, actually. And they're like, yeah, we get it. We're brothers. This is dumb. Everyone is obviously going like, oh my God, who's their mom? They keep focusing on their the Kelsey's mother, Donna Kelsey. Oh my God, who's she going to root for? Stupid question. She's going to root for both of them. You idiot. So stupid.
I remember that. You got the Pouncey brothers. You got the St. Brown brothers. They always the parent normally wears the dual jersey. We know how that goes.
Exactly. And it's not but they keep pounding on it like it matters. It's like, bro, this is like the least interesting story you could focus on.
But aren't they all uninteresting?
Most of them. Well, that's why I like the wife storyline so much more.
Yeah.
Let's see. The other narrative that keeps popping up, the Eagles are the first team to get back to the Super Bowl in 5 years or less after changing their head coach and their starting quarterback.
Impressive.
We'll get into that more in the next episode when we talk about how the Eagles were built.
They also, if we look at this in the entirety of the situation, they had a good team. They didn't fire a coach like most teams fire their coach because the team has fallen off. They fired the coach because they kind of had to, because he tanked the game and the locker room blew up that day.
That's true.
They had to let go of him. So the team was already in good shape, and then Sirianni comes in and doesn't fuck it up.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's true. When they pulled Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
That was
Peterson did.
That was a weird decision.
Yeah. So then they gave it up in a division rivalry game or whatever. Like they kind of like threw the game or whatever.
The other narrative or the final narrative, I guess, that you're going to hear quite a bit, which I'm kind of here for, actually. I actually don't think this one can get enough attention. This will be the first Super Bowl with two black starting quarterbacks.
Really? I didn't even think about that. And that used to be a main focus of mine when I was a kid. I always looked at, because I would hear the narrative and I thought it was bullshit that black people couldn't play quarterback and all that. So I really rooted for black quarterbacks. I didn't even think about that shit.
First Super Bowl in the history of the NFL with two black starting quarterbacks. Also, the Eagles' assistant coach specializing in strength and conditioning, a woman by the name of Autumn Lockwood, will be the first Black woman to coach in a Super Bowl.
Wow.
So all you haters who doubted that the NFL could solve racism can just fucking suck on it, bro.
Solved. It's solved. And there's also, just to prove the point about solving racism, there is a police force in Miami that unveiled a Black History squad car so that you can get arrested in the month of February and put into a Black History car commemorating with the African flags on it and talking about how much they care about Black history. So shout out to Miami.
What? I have not heard that story.
Racism's over.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
In my city. Not just
I feel
Florida,
like that car.
Miami.
I feel like that car is only allowed to arrest white people.
I feel like it too, but that's not what's gonna happen. I don't.
And
think
when you
they're
get
gonna
in the
arrest
car,
people in it.
and when you get into the back of the car, there should be like a speaker thing where you press a little button and it gives you a little Black history lesson, right? Like when you go to the museum.
Yeah.
In 1973, a lesser-known Black individual who invented blah blah. You know what I mean? Like it would be.
They'll be like, you can smoke. You can have a cigarette thing right there, a pack of Newports right there.
If you're gonna do a Black History police car, you can't go halfway. You gotta go all the way.
Go all. We got Kool-Aid back there. You got a little. Got pork rinds.
Pork rinds and Newports. Wow. I'm glad you said it. If I said it, it would be unacceptable.
That's what I'm here for, man.
And to be fair, I fuck with some pork rinds. That's like my go-to road trip snack. I love me some pork rinds.
So good, man.
Love it.
Every time I go home, I get me a pack of pork rinds. You got to go to the corner store. I get pork rinds, some Jamaican patties, a hot sausage, and a pickle egg. Those are the 4 things I'm getting when I go to the corner store.
That is literally the blackest thing I've ever heard in my life. Wow. Okay, so the black, back to the Black Super Bowl thing.
Yeah.
Black quarterbacks. I just wanted to do a quick little rundown. So first, 1988, obviously we had Doug Williams become the first Black quarterback to win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Also won the MVP of the game. After that, it took another 12 years for us to see another Black quarterback in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 34, I believe it was. And this time it was Steve McNair.
Oh, yeah.
Playing with the Tennessee Titans.
Yes. Inches away. So dramatic.
Exactly. Game took place in the Georgia Dome, by the way, in the A. But yeah, as you suggested, unfortunately, they came up just
8
a
inches,
little bit
right?
short.
Wasn't it 8 inches? Dyson reaching for the end zone. What a game.
Yeah. Lost to Kurt Warner and the Rams.
Greatest show on turf.
Then let's see. You had McNabb. Donovan McNabb started for the Eagles in Super Bowl 39.
Yep, I watched that in the desert. I was deployed. Worst commercials ever.
Colin Kaepernick for the 49ers. Super Bowl 47
with the blackout. Remember they had a blackout during the game.
Yeah,
two brothers coaching against each other too.
Yep. The Harbaugh Bowl. Both McNabb and Kaepernick came only 3 points short of winning the Super Bowl. And then came Russell, sexy, deep ball Wilson in Super Bowl 48. 28 years after Doug Williams got the victory, Russ got himself a ring and became only the second black quarterback to ever win.
Wait, Russell Wilson's black?
I know, right?
No, of course he is.
He made another Super Bowl the following year, but then, of course, he lost to the Patriots because Pete Carroll forgot that he had Marshawn Lynch on his team and decided to throw a goal line interception instead.
And that's what pisses me off.
Yeah, it's totally scripted, which we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. Cam Newton was the next up, Super Bowl 50.
Speaking of scripted.
Motherfucker.
Go pick the ball up, Cam. Pick the ball up.
Even especially in slow motion, it looks so bad. It's like, what are you doing? It's just like you're just, Super Bowl 54 brought us our third
black victory.
Black quarterback victory with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs defeating the lead-blowing Kyle Shanahan-led 49ers.
Mahomes is black?
Now, that's not a comment.
Thought it was green.
That's not a comment designed to take anything away from Patrick Mahomes because he obviously balled the fuck out with Super Bowl MVP. It's more of a, one of my patented fuck Kyle Shanahan comments for me and all my Falcons friends and loved ones who hate this man with a passion that burns within. And now it's to get us up to date. We are here with Mahomes facing off against Jalen Hurts, guaranteed to get our fourth black quarterback who will walk off the field as a Super Bowl champion.
It feels like it's the fourth one. Like, it's a storyline that's kind of, I guess it's the first one where it's black on black, but the league has also, the position has changed and the mindset has changed a lot. America's come a long way with the, sports and the opinion of the position of the quarterback.
Well, it could also be the first time in history that the words black on black will be followed by a positive statement.
Yeah. Black on black quarterbacking instead of crime.
Right.
Yeah.
Which in and of itself could be considered a type of crime by certain people.
Yeah. Some people don't like that. Some people really hate that and be like, why do we have to focus on race? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to get that thing too. Why is it always about race when it's convenient to keep it quiet and keep oppression going?
Why does it always have to be about race is essentially white people code words for how come I don't get to say the N-word anymore.
I didn't know that. Thank you for the translation, Schif.
You're welcome.
The peek behind the curtain.
I'm just telling you what they're really trying to say.
Okay. Now I know. But I'm glad for them. I'm glad. You know what? I'm glad that I hadn't thought about it. That it didn't cross my mind at all. That we gotten that far. Because if this would have happened in 2001, I would have been so stoked and more like, see, they can play the position. But we've come so far. Almost half the league is black quarterbacks. I mean, almost half the quarterbacks are black, right? Or is it like,
sure.
What's it, 10, 12? You know what I mean? So it's like we've gotten to a point where it's commonplace, and it's going to happen more and more.
I agree. And
you're seeing white quarterbacks run the ball, scramble and stuff like that. Daniel Jones and Tannehill, you know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Matt Ryan.
And I said scramble the ball, not scramble brain cells.
No, I just thought it was an interesting narrative.
Yeah.
That warranted a slightly deper dive, especially given that it's also fucking Black History Month, for Christ's sakes. You know what I mean? It's like, why not go back a little bit and see how this all played out? And I think for me, just sort of looking back through the history, I actually think the fact that this is only the fourth time you have a winning black quarterback, like that's. I was surprised that it took that long to get from Doug Williams to Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
you know
that shocked me as well. But then between Doug Williams and Russell Wilson, like by the time Russell Wilson came in the league in 2012, he won the Super Bowl in 2013, right? As far as I remember, something like that. He won it pretty early in his career. I mean, there weren't that many black quarterbacks in 2012.
Right.
Like the boom kind of happened right after Russell Wilson because he was also 5'11". Like he did a lot for the position as far as seeing how like it doesn't have to be a 6'6", because Wilson does have a strong arm, but he was also 5'11", and they were worried about people not being able to see over the line with him because they didn't worry about it with Steve Young so much. But but he can, or Drew Brees, but that was the thing they said about Russell Wilson. But then he showed that you could be a running quarterback with a cannon, and then you had Kaepernick the next year. It's like they just, the league kind of changed.
Yeah.
Once that RPO got to the league, it's time to bring it in, and the college game went more pro style.
Yeah, that was the RPO thing was certainly one of the more significant additions to the annual NFL script writing process, which naturally brings us to the most recent conspiracy theory that the entire NFL year is scripted. Now, remind me, how did this story get started?
I should have pulled that up too, man.
Isn't it? It's like
Arian Foster. Arian Foster was on a podcast, and they jokingly, they say to him, Arian Foster's a really cool dude, man. If you hearing him talk, my favorite thing about him is he's like a black atheist. It's not really common in the black community. It's kind of even if you don't believe like that, you still got to play along a little bit. It's unfortunate for my culture, but he's one that's like, no, like the team is praying. He's like, nah, I respect it, but I'm not going to participate in that bullshit. Is like the way he looks at it. And openly atheist black man is a rarity.
Well, I didn't realize that about him. I like him even more.
He talked about it
more now.
Yeah, and he talked about it when he came to the Dolphins. I was like looking into him even more, and he was just talking like that. Like, yeah, they're gonna pray. I'm not gonna pray, but I'm not gonna diss it either. Just not my thing. And if anybody wants to talk to me about it, I'll say my piece too to these, because a lot of people, thanking God for a touchdown and all that stuff. But so they asked him about the NFL being scripted, and he like goes along with it, and is like, oh yeah, I get my script every year and this and that, and it's so obvious that he's joking, but people ran with it. Like, see, he confirmed that the NFL is scripted, and then Twitter did what Twitter does, and
it's funny because he when you hear the interview, like he sounds quite serious about it. He's very like matter of fact. He says it's rigged. He says the players receive their scripts in their lockers during training camp every year, and then he goes on to say that's what practice was about. It was about practicing the script. It's like WWF. We know what's going to happen, but you're still going to put on a show.
And then the one guy says that your career was going to fall off a cliff.
Right.
In 2014. Well, how did you feel when you got that script? He's like, it was actually 2015. And he like goes all the way along with it. It's great, man.
It's very funny. And obviously there were some people who got the joke.
Yeah.
And some who did not. There were some players who even seemed to have not gotten the joke. Who tweeted, who like, man, what the fuck? Like, you think I would do it? Like, I would do that because it was like some people just didn't really. You could tell they didn't actually listen to the interview. They just heard about it and they didn't get it.
I got a clip of it here if you want to. If I should play it.
Yeah, go ahead, play it.
All right, here we go.
The NFL is rigged, and how every year he used to get a script.
Yeah.
Day one of training camp that would get dropped off at his locker, and you would have to, it was like week 1 you'll do this, week 2 you're gonna have a hamstring injury, week 3 this is gonna happen, week 4 you're gonna get 3 touchdowns, and so then you just have to. Did you memorize those before the season started, or would you go and rehearse the script before every game?
We were really dedicated to it, so it was more so like that's what practice was about. It was about practicing the script. Like, this is what goes on, and this is what we have to do.
And this referee's going to miss this call because they hate you and they love the Colts, that sort of thing.
WWF, so it's like, you know, we know what's going to happen, but you still got to put on a show.
Yeah.
What did you think when you got the script in 2016 that said your career was going to fall off a cliff when you stopped believing in God?
That was 2015.
Around there.
That was 2015, and oddly enough, the script writers, it didn't have anything to do with that, actually.
See, now that obviously that's a indication that he's. If you didn't listen to the interview,
go listen to it. You hear the whole thing. He's joking. It's almost like improv.
Now, for those of you out there who cannot take a joke, again, as a professional scriptwriter, okay, for your kind of logical brain rebuilding purposes, I personally began to imagine a slightly different scenario, because most people don't realize that in my business, yes, there is a finished script when we go into production. However, it is often the case that these scripts need to be tweaked or altered for any number of reasons, right?
Okay.
Rarely, and I mean never, do you get all the way through a production without having to make script adjustments? So
makes sense.
The idea that someone would just drop off some scripts in preseason and you just play them out for the rest, that for one, it would just be impossible. You would have to make tweaks along the way. So in the case of Super Bowl 51, indulge me for a moment as I imagine myself as the script writer whose job it is to deliver the new pages to Matt Ryan at halftime. Okay? Now, before we get started, for the
so
purpose
you're part of the rewrite?
Correct.
Okay.
So for the purpose of this scene, I will remind everyone that the halftime score was 21-3. The famous 28-3 came because we scored a touchdown in the third quarter before the comeback commenced and everything started to unravel.
Damn,
so
that makes it worse, man.
It does actually. Okay. So here we go. This is the scene. Players are shuffling into the locker room, hyped as fuck, right? There's a real buzz as the Falcons roll in to catch their breath. They're flying high. Enter scriptwriter. That would be me.
Okay.
Hey, Matt. Wow, bro. That was one hell of a half. I mean, great job. Exactly how we drew it up. Matt Ryan's like, I know, right? I mean, that was amazing. It all played out just like you said it would. Rushing touchdown, passing touchdown, and then the pick six. It's brilliant. You guys, I can't say it enough. I love this fucking script. Yeah. About that, we made a few changes to the end of the script. What? You want me to put on the Matty wheels and run for a rushing touchdown? No, not exactly. Ooh, I know. You want to write in a Julio Jones touchdown. Consider it done. Look, okay, Matt, here's the thing. You can throw one more touchdown pass to anyone you want. But ultimately, we're going to need you to blow the game. What? But we're up almost 3 touchdowns. That doesn't make any sense. I know. It sounds crazy, but look, we have one of these new guys, some hotshot scriptwriter. He blurted out this idea that it would be cool if the script went for, like, the largest blown lead in Super Bowl history. I was against it, for the record. Okay. But, we ran it up the flagpole to the league office. They conducted a quick focus group, and frankly, it tested really well. So we're going to go with it. But this will ruin my career in Atlanta for sure. Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. And I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but we're working on a little something else. But it's kind of early days, so I'm not sure if it will actually develop. What is it? Well, we're working on this Deshaun Watson narrative. It hasn't been totally fleshed out yet, but it's like a massage therapist sexual assault thing that will, kind of get him out of Houston. But we can't write him out of the league unless we decide, we want him to kill someone or bet on a game that he's playing in. So, unfortunately, the Falcons are one of the teams that we're going to try to send him to. Wow, that's insane. I know. I'm really sorry, but hey, listen. We will write you a new part. I promise. Somewhere really, really good. Maybe even we'll get you over to the Indianapolis Colts. Okay? Wait a second. Does Kyle Shanahan know about this? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Definitely. He's the one who signed off on it in exchange for a head coaching job in San Francisco. That motherfucker. And see.
Schif doing what he does, man.
And then as a sequel, you would obviously fast forward to 2022 as that same script writer walks into the locker room at halftime of when the Colts are beating the Vikings 33-0. And then you see him come in and go, "Hey, Matt, remember Super Bowl 51? And Matt Ryan's like, "No, not again."
It's like, I should have known, man. Once we went up 33-0 or whatever it was.
He's looking over his shoulder. Where's that fucking scriptwriter?
Yeah.
Where's he at?
Some of the stuff, if y'all want to check it out, there's a lot of, on Twitter, there were a lot of really funny scenarios where people were talking about the players or gifts of people getting the script and how they reacted with different scenarios and what year.
That one that you sent me about Matt Ryan getting the script. One of the video guy pretending to like jokingly commit suicide. That was sort of what inspired me to write that little script.
Yeah,
because I thought that was the idea of a scriptwriter walking in at halftime saying, "Yeah, here's the new pages, Matt." It's like, what?
That was great, man. Man, that was cool. We'll be back to talk about the game, the predictions for this the Super Bowl that's coming up, and really appreciate y'all checking this episode out, man. Did you have any more, Schif? We're gonna get out of here, right?
That's it. We'll come back, with all that stuff plus some a little building, a little hype for these two teams, a little bit of history, a little bit of little past history, a little current history.
And a final flip 'em and pick 'em, which is tied up.
Woo!
Flip 'em, pick 'em, playoff prediction.
There's a buzz in the air.
Yeah, man. But thank y'all so much. It's been another episode of SveNFL. We really appreciate y'all. It's been Jonathan Rollins.
Schif Musara.
And we'll catch y'all later. Peace.
Later, y'all.